Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the PodUp with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. PodUp, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Wednesday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We got JC here in just a second. Got a special guest, second portion of the program today, Mr. Ron Zook, former Gator coach, coached a long time in the NFL. Just a good guy. We're going to talk about his coaching career a little bit and what's going on in the world of college football. But first, let's go to the Titan Tomorrow hotline, and we're going to be joined by JC. Good morning, JC. We haven't seen you since the big win Monday night. Y'all actually had a big win last night. Alabama is playing extremely well in basketball right now.
QB, about that, I have not followed basketball in the same volume as you have, let's say, but I didn't notice. What I did notice and I didn't know was just how mature looking and how athletic the Alabama basketball team has gotten in just, I think, their second year under Nate Oates, and how he's been able to bring in a couple of these players. And I don't follow it nearly as much as I do football, and I would say that's the case for many Alabama alumni. But what I would tell you is that watching that team play Kentucky last night, and it's the first game I've actually watched them play because I didn't watch much of that Florida game or the Tennessee game. These guys look like they're an older, more mature and athletic team than they've probably been in decades, really. I mean, they looked really different to me as a basketball team that could go out and force teams to have to react to what they do offensively. And so beating Kentucky by 20 points at the Rupp, I don't know if anybody saw that coming, and I certainly didn't think that team was capable of doing that. And they had a couple of their best players not even get to play. One of them got hurt, or two of them got hurt last night, and I don't know what the extent of those injuries are. But they got players everywhere, it looks like.
Well, their style of play is what makes – I told you when they hired Nate Oates, he would be fun to watch because he's an analytical guy. He wants to shoot 25 to 30 three-pointers per game. From the analytics, but you got to make shots. And Alabama made shots. Kentucky played horrible. Kentucky's played horrible all year until they played last Saturday against Florida. The Gators get a big win last night. They didn't play great. Yeah. Scotty Lewis was out. I don't know if it's COVID related or what. But Florida ends the game on a 14-0 run.
That's right.
It's a win they had to have. Kermit Davis, his crew at Ole Miss play extremely hard. But Florida found a way to win and needed that victory.
I like Castleton. Castleton getting his first career double-double with Florida, and listening to him after the game on the SEC Network, he's the kind of guy that reminds me of a dude who can take control of a team, put him on his shoulder, and lead that team. And he needed to do that last night with Scotty out. Certainly, without Keontae Johnson, it's a different type of team. But it was good to see him play well because he's had some struggles there at Castleton. But I liked what Colin showed last night in that 14-0 run because I was concerned that when they were down, I guess it was 9 there, when Mississippi hit 62, I think it was. I just didn't think Florida was going to be able to come back. But they showed a lot of guts last night, and it was a nice win for Florida.
Yep, got to play to the buzzer. We got a text here on the Titan Tomorrow text line. It says, "Good morning, gents. I was eager for this morning's show because I was wondering if JC would be sobered up enough to zoom in from a closet or bathroom or whatever quiet spot he can find wherever his partying has ended. Speaking of partying, Ohio State may have lost the Natty, but I heard Michigan extended your favorite coach up north, so Buckeye fans can rejoice and know they'll continue to spank the Wolverines' asses and own the Big Ten."
Well, I've never.
Ryan in High Springs. Thanks for the text, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan, thank you. Ohio State is still the class of the Big Ten. What happened in that game the other night? That team, I think, finally learned that during the season, attrition can kick in, injuries happen, you have to replace players that otherwise would be starting, and playing 8 games again through no fault of their own. But I think they started realizing what that could do to a team throughout a season. And for Alabama to win 13 games, 5 straight at the end, and beat 11 SEC teams, I don't think we're ever going to see that again. I don't think we'll have the chance to see that again because of the scheduling. But to do that and to beat everybody in the league other than Vanderbilt and South Carolina, who they certainly would have beaten easily, shows you what kind of year it was. And you can't – there's just so much you could say about this particular team. But one of the things you can wrap it up with is that certainly with Nick Saban, it may have been the best team he's ever had. And that's because of the way they played as a team, as what he said post game comments, but with the way they all bought in. QB, not one player on that roster either missed a game because of COVID or opted out. Not one. And the fact that those seniors came back, Leatherwood, Harris, Smith, Jones, all of these guys that played on that roster who are projected to be first or second round picks, did so because they wanted to win a championship. Smith never even thought about a Heisman Trophy when he said he was coming back, and Harris needed to come back to get his resume and his film up. And that's what happened to him. But they all wanted to win a championship, and it showed the dedication to the process that Saban employs.
So can you tell me what that process is? Can you name the five?
Well, I don't have the 5 principles, but let me just put it to you like this.
You're in those meetings. You're in the locker room. Do you want me to tell you what the 5 components make up of the process?
Go ahead. Why don't you enlighten us, QB?
So write these down, JC, so you can implement them for the rest of your day and life. Okay?
Okay.
All right. It's discipline.
Coach Matthews, yes.
Commitment.
Of course.
Toughness, effort, and pride. Now, don't you think it's silly that I know what the process is made up of and you don't?
I could have said those words.
But literally, that's what the process that Alabama talks about. Yeah. That's the 5 components that he preaches.
Right. But watching them and hearing him talk about it and watching how these players execute that process is somewhat obvious to those words you used. And you can't have that without those words you used. So it does go without saying that these kids bought in. And that's the impressive thing to me, is that nobody thought about opting out. Nobody thought about this, that. And they never missed a game because of – so the rigidity of that process and the way he gets these kids to buy into that weekly, monthly, yearly is phenomenal. And to have turnover with both the coaching staff and the roster, and to be able to continue that consistently is the most impressive thing, I think, about Nick Saban.
Yeah, we got a couple Facebook Lives here brought to you by Mellon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Jeff says, let's make Ron Zook our recruiting coordinator. Francis says, Scotty and a walk-on at COVID-related issues. A fun game to be at. The crowd was really into it. I heard some crowd noise watching on TV. Back to basketball, I can't tell you how many people on other shows that I'm on or on my show through Facebook Live want Mike White gone. And I know you're not a basketball guy, JC. You don't watch a lot of it, but it blows my mind. He's a young coach. First of all, I would like for Facebook Live here, if you have another coach that you would want to coach the Florida Gators in basketball, I'd like to see some names pop up here, because who are you going to get? Secondly, you got to remember, Florida has been through a traumatic ordeal this year with the Keontae Johnson deal. Okay. Right. Now, he was the SEC player of the year that we were playing without. You played last night without a 5-star Scotty Lewis, still won the game. I think people want to play the way Alabama plays. We can't play the way Alabama plays. That's not his coaching style. That's not the kind of players we have.
I don't think you have the players for that.
Yeah. We don't. But I don't know who people would want here.
They want another Billy Donovan story, but everybody needs to remember when Jeremy hired Billy Donovan, nobody knew who the hell Billy Donovan was. Right.
So we just got a Facebook Live. I got a name popping up here. Joseph on Facebook Live says Shaka Smart. Okay, I like Shaka Smart, but for the last, how long has he been at Texas, JC? 6-7 years. They've been horrible till this year. Now they're ranked like they're like 4th or 5th in the country right now.
Yeah.
But the folks in Austin, Texas were ready to run not run Austin, but run Shaka Smart out of town. So, yeah, you got to be careful what you wish for.
Well, maybe it's just like you said, it's the style of play that they want to see. The Shaka Smart style of play, the Nate Oates style of play.
Shaka Smart doesn't play the way he played at VCU.
Well, I know he doesn't, but that's what they remember him for, because when he was at VCU, they went to the Final Four. I mean, that's the kind of team they want to see, and that's what they remember that name with, because you're right. They've been obscured at Texas because Texas has not been a factor in college basketball since he's gotten there. But what they've done is try to get the continuity together and keep him recruiting and learning. And look, again, basketball is not the driver for university sports unless you're a place like Gonzaga or Buffalo or Belmont or Butler. Those schools, basketball is the driver. At these big major institutions like Texas and Florida, it's football. Football is what gets it done. And so basketball, look, you let your coach go through a long period of time to try to establish your program. If you try to replace them in 2 years, you're just going to have turnover. You're not going to have continuity, and the players you seek to get are not going to think of the commitment that you have to basketball by continuously turning over your coach. Who the hell would want to go to a program with no stability? You have to create stability with this program. Mike White's going nowhere, folks. Sorry, and he's going to get players here.
Speaking with JC from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
I'm not even a basketball guy. I know this.
And we got some Facebook Lives here. Daniel says, Mike White will be our coach. Quit crying, fans. Dan says, I like Coach White. How do you blame a coach because of KJ's issue in the past where all his big men get injured? We got a text here on the Titan Mark text line. It comes from Daryl. He says, JC, congrats. I think that our team, meaning the Gators, needs to take some lessons from Alabama. Quit all the jawing and play football. Bama does it the right way. That's the thing that, I think now Gator fans, the ones that I've talked to, that they're so tired of Alabama. Not just Gator fans, but I think everybody. And I get it.
Sure.
But I think people now are understanding, quote, the process. Okay. Because I've said it all year long. If you watch our team, other teams, and Alabama, all their players are dressed the same. Okay. There are no shirts hanging out, different colors, different colored socks, all these sweatbands. When an Alabama player makes a play, he may celebrate with his teammates. He doesn't give the first down sign, or he doesn't, make a big scene. Then the reason why is because they are very disciplined, because Saban, that's part of discipline, is part of the process. But here's what he can do. If you're the starting wide receiver and you make a great catch and you get up and do the first down sign and all that crap, or you're a DB and you get up and knock a ball down and, do what they do, throwing their hands up and doing this and doing that, he's going to put your ass on the bench. Well, and he's going to put the next guy in who's just as good. You see what I'm saying? None of that crap goes there. And I think a lot of teams, like Daryl said, should do that, because it drives me crazy when a defensive back knocks a ball down, breaks up a play, and does all this crap to the crowd. Look at me. Dude, that's what you're here for. Your job description as a defensive back is, I don't know exactly how it's stated, but do not let the other team catch the ball. You know what I mean? As a wide receiver, your job description is catch the football.
We are in the self-promoting culture right now. Social media has a lot to do with this, and it's a look at me type of thing, whereas the greater good needs to be considered. When Woody Hayes coached Ohio State, and I think I heard Rick Neuheisel say this, and I love listening to Rick Neuheisel because of what he knows and his knowledge, but Woody Hayes used to teach kids how to fold sport coats to put into suitcases so they could travel properly. Just these little things that, look, this is how we do it here, and you're going to learn that. And those things build character and build a personality. When Devontae Smith was asked questions after the game the other night, it wasn't that he looked like he was bored as hell and he didn't want to be there. It was just because he has a personality that is all business when it comes to football. What you want to get from the media's perspective is a Devontae Smith who has a little personality, a little emotion, and something like that. But it's hard to find that when a kid is sitting there talking about football questions. And football is the primary driver for these players at Alabama when they step into that facility and they know that they've got the support and they know how to act. And now, look, not all kids are mature enough to even go through that, so not everybody can make it. It takes a certain player in that system to go through it and be successful. Mac Jones is a great example, because here's a kid that literally went from scout team quarterback to a dude that threw for 4,500 yards, 40 touchdowns, only had 4 interceptions, and it has 77% completion ratio percentage, whatever, a quarterback rating that was through the roof. And this was a guy who basically played one solid year. So for him to be able to do that, he had to learn things off the field and how to conduct himself for those 2.5 years he didn't play. And that's why I think one of the reasons why, not to mention all the talent he had around him, but that was one of the reasons why he was successful. He still had to make the plays. He still had to throw into those windows. He still had to find the open guy. He still had to check down. His check downs were great because he didn't force anything. And boom, next thing you know, the guy is going to be a first-round draft pick. So I think the Steelers could use him. But at any rate, that's the kind of player that he wants. That's what he's got, and that's why they win.
Yeah, refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. January is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shana, receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Speaking with JC on the Titan MRI hotline from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be joined by Ron Zook in the second portion of the show. I want to tell everybody, check this hat out, JC. This will look good on you. It's called Chomp Harder. It's one of our new sponsors. You can check out their hats, chompharderapparel.com. They have like fish harder, train harder, golf harder.
Wow. Can I get financial advice? Can I get financial advice harder?
Financial advice harder? Invest harder?
Invest harder? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So check that out.
Chompharder.com. We'll make it green. Get me a green one. I need a green one. That's a sign of money, baby.
No doubt about it. JC, talking about college basketball, we're all over the place today. But
it's good. It's a good week.
I like, there's been a ton of games canceled each night due to COVID, and we get it because there's a bunch of games in college basketball every night. But last night, I'm flipping through the channels. The Gators were playing, and I saw the Michigan is ranked like 5th. Ooh. Wisconsin's like 7th in the country.
Look at
Michigan. Michigan is very good. They're one of the 3 best teams in America.
They look good.
Michigan went on listen, folks, listen to this. They went on a 43-6 run.
Yeah.
43-6. That's hard. That's hard to do in practice when you're just practicing fast breaks with no defense. Well, 43-6. I don't know if I've ever heard of anything like that.
Right. And they didn't do it against the Upper Peninsula Warriors. They did it against Wisconsin, and a Wisconsin team that was ranked. But listen, Juwan Howard's got an 11-0 team right now. They're 6-0 in their conference. He can recruit because every mama and daddy know who he is. Fab Five. Michigan's the program that could really make a lot of noise in that conference. I think you're right. I think they're probably the best team in the Big Ten. I don't. No,
easily they are. Easily. They're loaded. Juwan Howard's done a tremendous job with them. Here, I'm on record right now saying Gonzaga is not going to lose. They're going to win the national title. They're the best college basketball team I've ever seen. Well,
so you're going to take them against the field.
Yes, I'm taking. It's stupid. Half their team could get COVID for all I know. But I'm telling you right now, they go about 11 and 12 deep, and is the most skilled basketball team I think I've ever seen in college football.
Now think about that. Mark Few gets these players to come to a school with 3,000 students on campus, and they play in a rather, let's say, small gym up there, way up in the Northwest, in a conference that doesn't get any attention. How can he do it? And I think that's what frustrates Florida basketball fans, is how that guy in Gonzaga could do that, while down here in Florida, it's just one year after another of the same thing. And that's what I think frustrates people. Gonzaga hasn't won a national title. Gonzaga hasn't really done anything except
they played in the final. They played for a national title. Who they lose to, Villanova or North Carolina or something.
But they didn't win. And the thing is that they play in a conference that you couldn't name 5 teams in, really, if you didn't follow basketball.
Well, their conference stinks.
Well, that's my point. Is they go.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. JC. Okay, when you think of Virginia basketball, what do you think of? The defending national champs.
I think of a very boring team that
plays great defense, right? Plays great defense?
That's what I just said.
Okay. Yes. You know how many points Gonzaga put on them this year?
How many?
96.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you,
Yeah, well,
I've never seen it. I've never seen a team that skilled. But anyway, this ain't the Gonzaga talk show.
But I tried to swing it over to why Florida fans get frustrated here. And
Gonzaga is a basketball type school. Now
it's the size of the rights union.
That doesn't matter.
I know it doesn't in basketball, but for a Gator basketball fan to conceptualize how a school like that can win and a school like this can't is difficult. It's frustrating, and that's why you get these messages.
Let me remind you, we have 2 national titles. Gonzaga has none.
Okay. Exactly, and again,
so we have one. We have one.
Well,
Daniel says on Facebook Live, he says, "Invest harder." I'll second that. So JC, we're going to get you some hats that say "Invest harder."
And they have to be green. They have to be green. So.
Green with like dollar bill signs.
Well, it would help. Anything would help that makes things better for people. Yes.
Yeah. Tonight in the SEC, got some good basketball games. I was just looking at them here briefly.
Are you going full blown basketball mode now? Football's officially over, right? We're done with college football.
What the hell are we? I mean, it's over. What are we going to talk about? You want to sit here and rehash? You just want to rehash your national title every day?
Football is never over, bro. Never, ever, ever in the SEC. But yes,
I know that's why I have Brent Beard on every Thursday.
And I think that's a great idea too.
But you got Arkansas and LSU, which they're both tournament teams. Should be a heck of a game tonight. And then also in the conference, you got Auburn and Georgia, and then Mississippi State and A&M.
So, watch out for that Florida State NC State game tonight too. I think that could be interesting.
Florida State. It doesn't seem like they've had some. The ACC's had a lot of COVID issues.
They really have. They're 5-2 though. They need to make some noise in the ACC, get back up to the top half of it. So.
All right. Before we let you go, JC, let's just briefly talk about. Well, first of all, we just got a Facebook Live here. It's a good question from Natasha, brought to you by Melton Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Ask, will there be spring ball? If I were to guess right now, I would say no. What would you think, JC?
No, I agree with that. I mean, it doesn't seem like the news flow, other than the vaccine, has really created confidence yet for NCAA administrators or college presidents or even athletic directors to go full force into getting kids together again out there athletically. They're doing the best they can in basketball. It's really hard to watch as a fan, from a fan's perspective, to see Rupp Arena so empty and places like that. But this is what we have. This is the world we're living in right now. And until that changes, I can't see normality coming back until we get it on the COVID front. I know, I mean, I could speak, but I won't, about COVID. But I will tell you that basketball is a sport that is hanging on right now. So as far as football and spring practice is concerned, I just don't see it happening this soon in March. Maybe summer workouts. They'll do something with the NCAA, allowing kids to get together during the summer, unlike last year. But spring football seems too close to me right now.
Yeah, Natasha says regarding spring ball, I don't disagree, but that's not the answer they wanted to hear. I don't think.
I get it.
I don't think there's any spring ball. We have sports information department from Gonzaga listens to our show out. Is it Spokane, Washington, where they're located? Yeah, they just chimed in on Facebook Live and said Gonzaga has not lost 10 games in the last 10 years. So appreciate that, Rick, for looking that up.
It's nice to play Portland State, San Francisco, Loyola, this and that.
No, Jake. But they do play some. Their conference is horrible. But the teams they played before conference play, all in the top 10, and they destroyed them. Them.
They are the preeminent program of that part of the country. Period. There's no contest. I mean, they're better than anybody in the Pac-12. QB.
Appreciate Rick joining, chiming in and giving us stats for Gonzaga. Another Facebook Live. Ronnie wants to know, will there be a baseball season? Yes, they'll play baseball. They're going to play all the spring sports, in my opinion. You may have some cancellations here and there.
Okay, so why wouldn't you have spring football practice, QB?
Well, that's a great question. But I think because spring football is not – you're not competing.
Makes sense. Yeah.
It's
just practice. It's practice.
Yeah. Practice. But that is a good point. But
I mean, to the football coaches, it's just as important as any spring practices, spring sports they have.
I agree, and I will say this: if anybody needs a spring football practice this year, is the Florida Gators.
Oh, goodness gracious!
Our offense is going to look
so different. You're going to have. It's going to be Nick Fitzgerald, Dak Prescott, Mississippi State type of offense next year. Yep. Get ready, folks.
All right, JC. Well, all
right.
Hit them well today, and we'll talk to you on Friday, my man.
Hit them well. Okay. Every day is a golf day, right, QB?
That's right. I mean, at Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida. Understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 4 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. Going to take our first time out of the pro. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Coach Ron Zook here on the Titan MR Hotline from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parrish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, podupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration points where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Nike, Sensei, Prime and Pearl, opening soon, Dave & Buster's, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. We're now going to go back to the Titan MR Hotline, and we're joined by Coach Ron Zook. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
I'm great, Shane. How you doing?
I appreciate you taking the time to join us. Real quick before we jump into, your career, growing up in Ohio and stuff, I just want to get your quick thoughts. Were you surprised at how well Alabama moved the football against Ohio State the other night?
Well, as I told you earlier in the week, we didn't. Our game was actually canceled against Ohio State, but we had prepared for them, and so we knew what kind of football team they were. I didn't think they were. I thought they were obviously a good football team, but not as good as they were last year, particularly on defense. And I think that really it showed up. As I said, I thought it would be a little closer game, but once Alabama, they were hitting on all cylinders. And, when you can run the ball the way they were running the football and it's hard. When that train starts going south, it's hard to get it stopped.
Yeah, no doubt. Coach, let's talk about, you grew up in the state of Ohio, played college football. Back then they were the Red Hawks, right? Miami of Ohio, Red Hawks.
We were the Redskins.
Redskins. That's right.
Miami,
now they're
Miami
the Red
of Ohio. Back then we were the Miami. We in fact we played Florida and South Carolina and Georgia in the Tangerine Bowls, and we had a pretty good group of guys.
Yeah, so you played college ball there, and then you got into coaching right out of college, if I'm not mistaken. Did you always know you wanted to be a football coach?
No, I had no intentions of ever coaching. Never. I was going to be a dentist. I didn't want to be a coach. But I was fortunate enough to play with a bunch of great guys and play on a team that only lost one game, and had a tryout. And obviously on the way back from the tryout, I'm thinking, well, I'm not really ready to give this game up. Maybe I can, I can always try to go to dental school. So I actually, because I was certified to teach anything in science, I had 6 job offers. So I ended up going to Orrville, Ohio, and which was where Bobby Knight's from, and right there by Massillon and Canton, and just a hotbed of Ohio football. And I was there 2 years, and we tied one game. So in 5 years of football, I had lost one and tied one. And I said, this is kind of fun. I'd want to try the college ranks. So, and the head coach that I work for there, Mo Tipton, he's passed since, but told me that I wasn't going to be a good coach until I lost. And I said, well, I don't want to be a good coach yet. I mean, but it's, and as you well know in your career, I mean, when times are tough, when things go bad, that's usually when you learn the most. And I don't think there's any question in my career. I mean, when things have been tough is when you learn the most, and probably when you do your best job of coaching. So I just went along from there.
Yeah, you coaching a bunch of different colleges, and then you get a call from Steve Spurrier. I want to say you got here in '91 as an assistant under him. Did you have a relationship with Coach Spurrier, or how did that whole job come about?
Well, no, I didn't really. We had a mutual friend, and Carl Franks, and I used to recruit. I was at Ohio State at the time, and Carl and I would kind of recruit together, and particularly in the Sarasota area, and we were all on the same guys down there. And then we had a mutual friend, Jim McVeigh, who is an executive director of the Outback Bowl. And so that's kind of how it all came about. And then obviously had a chance to come to Florida. And really, when I was I used to always take my spring breaks. My poor family, I'd drag them to Florida, and I'd go to Florida State, Florida, and Miami, and all three schools. And because I wanted to live in the state of Florida, I always felt like the schools in the state of Florida had a little advantage over everybody. Obviously, the weather. I wanted to live growing up in Ohio, I didn't want to live in the cold. And I think it's true. You got a great state. You got a great football and coaching, and you got a chance to. You don't have to go. In recruiting, you don't have to. Anytime you don't have to leave your borders, I think it makes it a lot easier to recruit.
So when you got here, obviously Florida in '91 was the first year we ever won the first ever official SEC title. I want to talk about, because we're going to talk about your recruiting, because you're a tremendous recruiter. But while you were here at Florida, who was the one guy that you busted your ass trying to recruit, and he did sign with Florida, and you were so excited? I mean, I don't know who that guy may be. I have one guy in mind, and I want to see if it's the same guy you're talking about. Somebody that you busted your tail.
I don't say, and that's really a hard question, because we were fortunate enough to get a lot of really, really good players there. And I don't know if there was one. You have to bust your butt on all of them. You really do.
Right.
As we said before, I still think the University of Florida is the best job in college football. I really do. And I mean, you're in a great place to live. You're in a great community. It's a great academic institution, and you don't really have to leave your borders much. I mean, you're gonna get out a little bit, and obviously when you're going after top kids and so forth. But I just you got to work. Recruiting is, it's the lifeblood of college football. And if you don't like to recruit, and I think the fact that you got something good to recruit too is obviously makes it a lot easier. But I can't say that there was one that worked any harder than the other on.
Well, there's one that I'm thinking of, and I can't remember if he got here before you or you had a lot to do with it. Larry Kennedy.
I want to say Larry. Yeah.
Wasn't it between Florida and Ohio State for him?
See, here's what happened. I had recruited him to Ohio State. He had signed with Ohio State, and then he didn't make the. It was back when the grades and so forth, and he did not make the grades to come in school. So, and I was still recruiting him. And once again, as I mentioned, Carl Franks and I were good friends, and so anyway, Carl was recruiting from Riverview High School in Sarasota. So he ended up coming to Florida. So I got to coach him anyway. But I had recruited him to Ohio State. He signed with Ohio State, and then when he didn't make it, he the next year, Carl recruited him to Florida, and so I got to coach him anyway. So it all worked out. Larry was a good football player.
Yeah. So you're a defensive coordinator under Coach Spurrier. You're also in charge of special teams. I would say you probably prefer being a defensive coordinator, but what's the feeling like as a coordinator because you were known for when you had like Sam McCorkle and that crew blocking tons of punts. What's the feeling like as the coordinator when you design this perfect punt block? Do you get a better feeling doing that, or when you get a pick six as a defensive coordinator?
Well, I think obviously they're all special teams. The one thing about special teams, and I really didn't appreciate it until the 5 years in Green Bay because it's what happens when you get these guys. They don't play special teams, so you're starting coaching a young man from scratch. I mean, you bring a college kid in or an NFL kid in and say he's a defensive back. Well, he's played defensive back all his life. Now, obviously, you got to teach him the system and refine his techniques and all those kind of things. But for the most part, they've never played special teams. So you are, and special teams, it's one play. And, special teams aren't important until they're important. You don't need them until you need them, and then you need them. And you get one down. There's no second down. There's no third down. You go out an offense, and you run the ball and you lose three. You throw an incompletion. Now it's third and 13. Well, you pick it up, and everybody forgets about that first and second down. Well, special teams, you make a mistake, and it's forever. And the thing that I grew to enjoy in Green Bay was the fact that, hey, you're coaching guys to do things that they've never done. And you watch them develop, and you watch them grow, and you watch them become better. And, that's to me, particularly in the NFL, it's true coaching and it's true teaching and the scheme that you come up with, the things you get them to do. I think it's just like offense or defense. It's putting players in position to be successful and doing the things that they can do. And I think that's one of the things that the best coaches that I've been around are coaches that don't try to do what they know. They try to do what the player can do.
Yeah. Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. We're joined today by Coach Ron Zook here in the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Coach, so you coach with Coach Spurrier, then you get an offer to go, I think, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mm-hmm. You go coach a little bit in the NFL, Steelers, Saints, Chiefs, I think. Talk a little bit about, and you kind of mentioned a little bit, but did you enjoy, and we're going to talk about you coming back to Florida and Illinois and stuff, but from a coaching standpoint, did you enjoy college ball or pro ball? And tell people what the biggest difference is as a coach.
Well, there is a big difference, but I just, to me, it's being around good people. Whether you're coaching in the college or you're coaching in the NFL, with your 14 years experience in the NFL, pro football players, and this was the first question that I asked Coach Carr when I went to Pittsburgh, how do you coach these guys? And he said, you coach them the same way you coach you guys in college. And as long as you know what you're talking about, the pro players, they're going to listen. They're going to try to do everything you ask them to do. Now, they'll question you, but that's fine. But you really, in college, you're trying to help young people reach a goal. A lot of them want to get to the NFL and get there. In the NFL, you're trying to help them stay there. And so, as long as, they understand what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to do and your stuff, I never, in 12 or 13 years in the NFL, I only had one player that was a tough guy to coach. Now he was tough for everybody. He'd come from the Giants or Jets and when I was in Kansas City, but that's still a good football player. It comes down to people. And I was fortunate enough to be around a lot of great coaches. And in the NFL, I was with the Steelers, a great organization. The Kansas City Chiefs, a great organization. The Green Bay Packers, a great organization. So New Orleans Saints, great people. I mean, it was a great organization. But we had to take it. We won the first playoff game and stuff there. So it was a lot of fun. But it's still, to me, it's about people and being around the kind of, because it's a hard job, as many jobs are. But you want to be around the kind of people that, hey, they're there, you're all together and you're all on the same page.
So Steve Spurrier decides he wants to take a shot at the NFL with the Redskins, and then we're looking for a new head coach, and Jeremy Foley comes a-calling. Was it just were you like, yes, I'll do it right now, or was it a hard decision? But, you get an opportunity to be the head coach at the University of Florida. You probably just jumped at it, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think you can, I'd like to have been able to tell Foley that, hey, yes, I'll take it the next time, though, not after Coach Spurrier. But you play the cards that you're dealt and the situation. And I'll say this, when we came in there, I know this. When we left Florida, we left it in pretty good shape, and I think that's the one thing in coaching. You always want to leave a place better than you found it, and so yeah. But it was a great. I've always said this, and I still say it. I told you the other night. Florida is, I think, the best job in college football. And does it have problems? Sure, but everybody has problems. There's no such thing as utopia. There's tough things everywhere. People talk about facilities. I remember when we were at the University of Florida, we probably at that time were 12th in the SEC in facilities. But that's not, players, it helps, there's no question, but you sell what you have. And you sell the things that as I said, Florida's a great place. It's a great place to live. It's a great academic institution. There's tradition there now. Back in '91, as I said, when you won the first SEC championship, and really in position, you had to get your knee scoped. But we're playing Notre Dame. I remember you hadn't practiced, and I remember telling Coach Spurrier at halftime, Coach, if they have to run the ball, they can't win. But he kept, I don't know whether it was you or him, kept throwing the ball down the field.
It wasn't me.
And Lou Holtz knew exactly. He set him up during the week. He knew exactly. He was going to challenge Coach Spurrier. Coach Spurrier took the bait. But we really should have won. And being in Pittsburgh with Jerome Bettis, it was funny because Jerome was always talking about it. I said, I don't remember. We had a bunch of injuries, and Harvey Thomas had gotten hurt. A motorcycle, a moped thing, and they went to us. But Jerome used to always, and a great guy. Jerome Bettis, a great guy, but he used to always give me a hard time about that game. But really, we should have won that game.
Oh, we should have. Yeah, they figured out that we had a bunch of frat boys playing linebacker, and then they started pounding us. So, Coach, as you mentioned, you did leave this program with a lot of good players, and I want to say something like 20 of the 22 starters that won the national title for Urban in 06 were your guys. Talk a little bit about, because you recruited the all-time leading passer at the University of Florida. I think people forget about that. Chris Leak is the all-time leading passer. And I want to say y'all offered him as like a ninth grader, I believe.
Well, it was early. I don't remember if it was ninth grade or not, but it was very early. And he was at the time the number one recruit in the country, and he was just a great person, a great kid, and did a great job, hard worker, and he probably the only thing I don't want to say we did him wrong, but we had to play him as a true freshman, and that's hard. I don't care. It's hard, as you know, it's hard to play as a true freshman. It's hard to play as a rookie in the NFL. But he did a great job. I can remember his freshman year, we're playing Miami in the Orange Bowl. And he's kind of, after pregame meal, he's kind of wandering around and somebody from the media grabs him. He's over there talking to the media. And I'm saying, Chris, what are you doing? But he didn't know. But just a great competitor, great kid. And just, I love him. I really do. He did a great job for Florida. At the University of Florida, he really did.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. Coach, talk about your last game as the head coach of the Florida Gators. You go to Tallahassee. They're naming the field that day after Bobby Bowden, and the Gators do something that, gosh, we don't have a lot of wins in Tallahassee. Just talk about what that game was, what it means to you.
Well, it was a great way to go out. Obviously, I had already been fired, and we'd I got fired the Monday before the Georgia game, and really I don't want to say should have, but very easily could have won the Georgia game, and so it was, as you can imagine, it was a chaotic week, and I kept telling the team all week it was going to come down to an onside kick, which it did. Channing Crowder got hurt in the first series, and that was a big blow because Channing was an awfully good player, and hurt us on defense a little bit there, but to be able to finish it out like that against Florida State, a good football team, and Coach Bowden, and it's a great memory. It was a lot of fun, and it was. I can remember the bus ride back was probably one of the most fun times I can ever remember. After a game, but it was fun, and the pressure was off. I was already gone, so. It was a good deal, but the players played hard. They did a great job. That's all. This coaching thing, it's about the players. When I was at the University of Tennessee, Ken Donahue, who was Bear Bryant's defensive coordinator for 21 years, won the 6 national championships, and he used to always say, Ron, it's better to be known as a bad coach with good players than a good coach with bad players. And it's really so true. You look at these guys, I mean, look at Coach Belichick this year. I mean, all of a sudden, what do you do, get dumb? I mean, no, it's about the players. It's about, you got to have a quarterback. You got to have everybody hitting on all cylinders. You got to have a little bit of luck. And, you go back to our team. We had as good that 1991 team that you were the quarterback. I'm going to tell you now, that you talk about that defense. And obviously you played the lights out, but that was about as good a football team. There's no reason we should have never gotten beat by Syracuse. Never gotten beat by Syracuse.
Right.
But that was that was a great football team. Great defense. You guys, they couldn't stop you. You guys were doing stuff in the SEC that no one had seen, and you guys kind of changed college football. You really did.
Coach, you're the head coach at the University of Illinois. You're the Big Ten Coach of the Year in 2007. You kind of turned that program around. Talk a little bit about what it was like, the difference between being a head coach in the Big Ten compared down here in the SEC, where it just means more, as the SEC says.
Well, I'm not sure that it means more. I don't think there's any question. The SEC is a great conference, and the Big Ten is, I think they just don't have as many teams in the Big Ten that can compete. Usually, it was a different kind of year, but usually Penn State's awfully good. Ohio State's going to be good. Wisconsin's going to be good. Nebraska, they've been off a couple of years, but you just don't have the caliber and the speed that you have in the Southeastern Conference, and the passion. I mean, it's all year round. Of course, now it's gotten that way. I remember my first Big Ten coaches meeting. I'm sitting there, and I always used to sit beside Coach Paterno. But I said, guys, we in my opinion, we got to start playing. In December, the first week of December. And if you remember, the SEC was having the championship game on December 4th, and but I don't remember who it was. It might have been Jim Tressel at Ohio State, or one of them said, Woody and Bo. They want to be done by Thanksgiving. I said, Woody and Bo are dead. If you want the United States of America to pay attention to the Big Ten football, we better be in front of them. And I think, that's everything kind of started. Not that I had anything to do with it, but they started realizing that, hey, you want to be a national power. You want to be. You got to be out there. And I think that's part of the problem with the schools in the West right now with they talk about the playoff system and not getting a chance. Well, you don't see them because they play so late and it's hard for the majority of the population of the United States to see them. So, if you don't see them, you don't know about them. And and the Big Ten has done a good job of really trying to I don't want to say emulate the SEC, because they would take that the wrong way, but really, I mean, do the things that the SEC has done, and the SEC, no question, has done a great job and with how they market the product and what they do.
So after Illinois, you go back to the NFL for a little bit, and recently you've been an analyst for Mike Loxley, who is one of your assistants here at Florida. He's the head coach at Maryland. I just can't imagine Ron Zook being at practice as an analyst, because let people know that you aren't, quote, you can't coach, and you're you got so much energy. How difficult is that for you?
Well, last year was a lot harder than this year. People used to say, well, what do you do? I said, I walk around and kill grass, because, like you say, you can't coach. You try to help the coaches. I make notes. I watch the tape together and with the coaches, and this past year there was a new special teams coordinator, and he also was coaching a new position. So I really got more involved in terms of the film breakdowns and helping him with the special team stuff, just to get along. But the job and Loxley's doing a great job. He really is, and it's so similar to the way we started at Illinois. Long way to go, but he's got a great administration. He's in a great recruiting base, and it'll be one of the better jobs in the Big Ten here in the next couple of years.
We got a couple of Facebook Live here questions I want to ask you, Coach. I'm going to kind of compile them into one. Can an analyst help in the recruiting process? And we have a lot of people here that would like Ron Zook to be the recruiting coordinator at Florida.
Well, once again, I don't know that I'm a good recruiter. Here's the deal. you recruit what you have. Now, it's pretty easy to recruit at the University of Florida. If you can't recruit at the University of Florida, you can't recruit. And it's just simple. I mean, you got and as I said, I don't give me this facility bull crap. I told you this last week. Whenever we talked, it's the best job in college football. I believe it. And does it have issues? Absolutely. But when I went to Illinois, now you talk about bad facilities. You talk about, and we ended up the middle of my tenure at Illinois. We were putting more players in the NFL than anybody in the Big Ten, including Ohio State, including Michigan, more first rounders. So you recruit what you have, you sell what you have, and then then you got to. Recruiting's different now. It's with the early signing date, with the transfer portal and all those kinds of things. I'm not so sure that I like the direction that college football is going, but it is what it is, and you got to be able to adjust to it. But back to the original question: as an analyst, no, you cannot be involved in only the 10 full-time coaches and the head coach can actually be involved in the recruiting part of it, the phone calls and stuff. And I think now the recruiting coordinator actually can make calls, so. That is something that's changed a little bit. Ask Jamie McCluskey. You have the best person at the University of Florida when it comes to knowing the rules, and Jamie McCluskey is the absolute best. I can't remember that first year at Illinois. We called Jamie more than we called our own guy. So,
but let me ask you this: from an analyst standpoint, let's just say we were in a normal world where kids were still taking their visits and things like that. If you were at Maryland right now and a kid came on his visit, you can still talk to the parents and the kid while they're on campus, or no? If you're an analyst.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't do that because I never, other than outside, hey, how you doing? And a lot of times there would be people that I would know through somebody that, we'd talk about stuff. But I Locks didn't want me to, I didn't want to do anything that would jeopardize him, because he's, like I said, he's got it going there. But I think people probably do a little bit more maybe than they should. You have to be careful with it. And you got to do, I want to just say this. I mean, at the University of Florida, you don't need to break the rules. You got everything you got.
Right.
And you don't need to, now sometimes you're going so fast and, things happen. Trust me, I can remember Jamie calling me one time, and we had gone to see a kid that we couldn't see. And I'm sitting on the airplane, but you didn't even think about it. You just were going so fast, so you couldn't recruit him. The kid ended up going to South Carolina, was a good football player, and played against us. And you had to, but that's just, you have to do what's with the rules. And now I'm gonna tell you now, with the new where this is going with the likeness of the player can sell his likeness and do. I'm gonna tell you now, I don't know where that's going. Good luck with that.
Yeah, that's gonna be crazy. Crazy. Coach, last thing for you, and I've had people ask on Facebook Live, and I always do it when I have guys that either played for the HBC or coached for him. We need a good story. You got a good story you can tell on air?
Oh, I got a lot of stories on air, but no, I tell you what. Now he's obviously it's not the best being a defensive coach. You don't, as a defensive coach, he's not the guy you really want to. It's not the first guy you want to work for. Not that he's not a great coach, because he is. Obviously, I think Steve Spurrier changed college football. I think he has a lot to do with, obviously the SEC, where the SEC is. What you guys did, as I mentioned, I mean, people finally caught up with it, but you forced the SEC to change, and so I think from that standpoint, he had an awful lot to do with it. But I don't know that I have any individual stories that I can tell you. There's a lot of them out there, though. I can tell you. But anyway, it was a great 5 years there, and then it was a great 3 years. I mean, it was and if you ask my kids, I mean, even as tough as it was sometimes, particularly the last 3 years I was there as the head coach, my kids, my daughters would say that Gainesville was their home. I mean, that's where they grew up, and so it was a lot of good years there, and a lot of good people. They're passionate about football. Sometimes they don't know exactly everything they're talking about, but it is a. And as I said, it's the best job in college football.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time. We know you're here in the state of Florida. Enjoy skiing when it warms up a little bit. We know you're a big water skier. What are your plans? Are you planning to go back to Maryland as an analyst?
No, I don't know. I still got a lot of gas in the tank, and I'm just kind of chilling right now. I'm not sure what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Opportunity. I'd like to, possibly get back in the NFL if that happens. If not, I mean, I got a lot of things to do down here, and I live, of course, in Marion County, so it's a great place to live. And as you said, I live on the lake. We do a lot of things. We got a bunch of great group of friends here that. But I stay busy. I don't have any problem staying busy.
Well, good stuff, Coach. Be safe down there. We really do appreciate you joining the program, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Shane. Appreciate it, buddy. Good luck to you.
That's Coach Ron Zook joining us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. That's going to be a wrap for today's show, folks. Today's show's a wrap. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Follow us and like us. Be safe out there, folks. Take care.